Thank you for joining us here at noon. I'm Christine Pitawanich. We begin with developing news out of Los Angeles, where authorities say at least 3 sheriff's deputies are dead after an explosion this morning at a Los Angeles County training facility. The facility is about 5 miles east of downtown LA. A senior law enforcement source says the facility houses the department's special enforcement units and bomb squad. In a statement, the LA County Sheriff's Department told reporters that local, state, and national law enforcement officials are investigating. And on social media, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said federal agents are at the scene. Closer to home happening right now, there are level 3 go now evacuations close to popular campsites near Mount Hood. The Anvil fire is burning about 3 miles northwest of Timothy Lake. Take a look at this time lapse. It shows the smoke in the area last night. Officials originally estimated the fire was about 5 acres. At this point, we're working to find out if it's grown. Sheriff's deputies are making sure hikers and campers are cleared out. Here's a closer look at where it's burning, closest to Dinger Lake near the Anvil Lake Trail. That level 3 go now evacuation notice remains in place for a 2-mile radius around Dinger Lake. Meantime, the Cram fire burning northeast of Madras has now burned 91,000 acres. Evacuation notices still stand, affecting hundreds of people in both Jefferson and Wasco counties. Firefighters are worried about shifting winds today, threatening some of the lines they've already set up. Crews have not released an official estimate of how many buildings have burned, but it appears at least 1 home has been lost. We spoke with Kyle Butler, who watched the flames quickly approach his Jefferson County property. While his yard was burned, his house was spared. His neighbor, Lynn, wasn't as lucky. Flames destroyed her house and everything inside.
The memories she'll never get back, the collectibles, everything that she had at that home that had sentimental value, those will never be replaced, but we can at least help her get back on her feet and get a roof over her head.
Butler set up a GoFundMe to help her recover. And Oregon Governor Tina Kotek has declared a state of emergency for the entire state as these and more wildfires burn. We will bring you updates as conditions change, both here and online at KGW.com. Okay, Chris McGinnis joining us now from the Weather Center. Chris, we've been talking about those fires, and I know some of those firefighters worried about potentially shifting wind.
Yeah, and gusty wind, too, for areas that are actively burning right now. Case in point, so here's the satellite imagery over Oregon, and right smack dab in the middle of your screen, that is the smoke plume from the Cram fire. It laid down a little bit overnight, but now the breeze has picked up, and you can see that fire activity now. It's active, and the smoke plume continues to push on off to the east, an indication that the winds are picking up again at this noon hour. The red flag warning for high fire danger continues through the East Gorge. That basically means, and through Central Oregon, which means that the conditions are favorable for erratic fire activity, and that if any new fires were to start, they could quickly develop into something very significant. From Timberline Lodge, we're looking off in the vicinity of where the Anvil fire was reported yesterday. It looks like the smoke has laid down there quite a bit, so that's a good sign, even though we don't have an official update. You can see the haze in the air, though, from the Dalles. And I do want to point out that the wind, which was flat this morning out in the Dalles, has really picked up. The winds are now gusting to 30, 35 miles an hour, and that will be continuing to be the case in that part of the state throughout the day today, hence the red flag warning. Down in Madras, and this is Jefferson County where the Cram fire is burning, westerly wind gusts, again, forecasted to pick up throughout the afternoon. So not favorable conditions for fighting the fire at this point, and that will probably be the case again tomorrow. Dry weather, and that's just the recipe for stuff to continue to burn. Smoke modeling, by the way, does continue to show that smoke plume pushing through eastern Jefferson, through Wheeler and Grant County, and out towards the Blues and the Wallowas. So obviously folks in that part of the state will continue to see that smoke billowing overhead for the foreseeable future. Downtown Portland right now, we're up to 73 degrees with a mostly sunny sky out there right now, and hour by hour. Our forecast has us in the low to mid 80s this afternoon, so we continue stair-stepping down from that hot stuff we had earlier in the week, and that's going to set us up for a really nice weekend. Christine, more on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Can't wait to hear all about that. Thank you, Chris. To some big basketball news this week, it's a homecoming for Damian Lillard, who will be rejoining the Blazers next season. Here's Orlando Sanchez with a deeper look into what it took to bring him back.
All right, so here's what we know. about the return of Dame Time in Rip City. The Trailblazers and Damian Lillard have agreed to a 3-year deal worth $42 million. That's according to ESPN. The contract runs through the 2027-2028 season. There's a player option on the final year of that contract, and there's a no-trade clause. The only other player in the league with a no-trade clause is LeBron James. On a personal level, Lillard lives in Portland. His family is here. This is home for the 35-year-old. Lillard tore his Achilles in the playoffs in May and will likely miss all of the upcoming season. That played a role in the Bucks letting him go. Clearly, Lillard and the Blazers saw this as a win-win situation. Lillard gets to rehab that Achilles at home, be with his kids. Well, the Blazers get a 9-time All-Star, a leader, and a franchise icon at a discounted rate. Remember, it's unlikely that Lillard plays at all next season, and who knows what the roster will look like at that point. But there is no doubt there's plenty of excitement in Rip City to welcome home one of the greatest to ever do it in a Blazers uniform. Back to you.
So much excitement, that's for sure. But hey, remember, the Blazers are still for sale. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said this week that while the league prefers the Blazers stay in Portland, the city, quote, likely needs a new arena. Moda Center is the oldest arena in the NBA that's never undergone a renovation. The team and the city previously told our news partners at the Portland Business Journal that the facility will be renovated over the next several years. The Blazers are valued at $3.6 billion. Well, a Gresham mountain biker is recovering in the hospital after he went missing near Mount Hood for nearly a week. His friends say he got sick, drinking stream water to survive. Alma McCarty has more on how he managed to make it out.
After days out on the trails in the Mount Hood National Forest,
of course we were fearful, of course we were scared, but we also had a lot of hope.
Rescue teams called off the search when Ralph Sawyer walked out of the woods, found his bike, his car, and then drove himself home to Gresham.
So we knew if anyone could make it out, it would be him.
Longtime friends of the 52-year-old told reporters Sawyer left for a cycling trip Friday morning, and family began to worry when he didn't come home that evening.
I think it's fair to say that as the week went on, you start to be a little discouraged and confused on why you can't find him. So, but when we got the call today that he had driven home, I think there was shock as well as, of course.
The mission to find him spanned multiple agencies over multiple days near Trillium Lake.
Well, I certainly know it way better than I did before. There are a lot of trails where there's rocks and potholes.
From their understanding, Sawyer stowed his mountain bike at a trailhead before hiking in, lost his footing, and then couldn't get back to the path.
Up was not an option, so he knew if he followed the stream, it would eventually come out on Still Creek.
After a long 5 days filled with well wishes and community support, those closest to the Sawyer family say they're relieved and grateful.
I couldn't believe that after all this searching and all this, confused feelings and not knowing what was going to happen, that this is a positive outcome. It was so incredible. And Ralph is a survivor. My God, he's a survivor. Yeah.
Thank you to everyone for sticking with us for this time. We really appreciate it.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
The federal government has officially removed the Press 3 option of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It was the mental health resource for LGBTQ+ youth. Now those callers will be served through the main line. The nonprofit Basic Rights Oregon says the change could prevent people from getting help.
It forces people who are calling that number to have to already go in their background and re-explain, potentially come out to this person, have to tell their story, and really re-traumatize them when all they're doing is looking for support.
Studies show LGBTQ+ young people are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers. And a reminder, if you or someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts, there is always someone available to help. You can call or text the number on your screen that we just talked about. That is 988.